Hey everybody, it's Kevra. That's me, I'm Kevra. Y'all ready for our hootenanny? Yeah! This is the worst intro I've done so far. We now have a much better look at Westernland thanks to a 30-second spot that I guess is just popping up in notifications on the Nintendo Switch, either just for completely random people or maybe it's just certain parts of the world. That part doesn't really matter. What matters is that for this 30-second spot, they used almost entirely old footage except for this spot right here. As you can see, they used slightly different thumbnails to show each of the maps, which gave us a much better look at Westernland, and that's what I want to go over as we kind of analyze and see the differences. Now, I am going to go over everything, but I'm going to try and start off with the new stuff that got revealed, specifically the hootenanny and the banks. Now, if you compare the old version to the new version, it looks like the hootenanny is in the exact same spot, but there is one giant difference. There is now 2 event spaces right in front of the hootenanny. So it appears like you have to land on one of those spaces to activate the hootenanny. And that could either be a really good thing or a really bad thing. And let me give you both scenarios. Let's start with the really good thing, because I have seen people say that they don't like Westernland because you can just keep spamming the hootenanny over and over again, which I personally have never experienced. I feel like it's a super rare thing that would actually be a very good strategy, so I haven't seen people really do that. But if you do have a bunch of asshole friends who just think it's funny to just constantly drag you back to the hootenanny over and over and over again, or whatever the situation is, this completely avoids that because you have to land on the space in order to drag everyone to the hootenanny. Now you may be asking yourself, then what's the downside? How is this possibly a bad thing? Well, because you can't control, possibly, when the hootenanny happens. Like, I always felt like the point of the hootenanny was to drag people over when you wanted them to, because someone was about to get a star, or maybe someone was about to steal a star from you by passing boo, some sort of scenario. But if it just happens whenever you land on it, there's no longer that 20 coin fee. It's just you land on the space and everybody gets dragged over there. You could potentially land on it when you don't want to drag people over there. For example, maybe your friend Ashley, who's in last place, is going to go to Boo and steal a star from your friend Zach, who's in first place, and you want that to happen, but then you accidentally land on the hootenanny and drag her ass away from Boo. And then there's also the example of people just keep accidentally landing on it. Like, it's not a strategic move, people just keep accidentally landing on it because there's 2 spaces that are right next to each other, so it's not like, impossible to avoid, but people just keep landing on it over and over again. Or, scenario number 2, I land on the hootenanny space, I drag everybody over to the hootenanny, and the star is right in front of the hootenanny. And guess what? The person who's next is in first place, and now I just gave him another star. Now, what I'm personally hoping for is that when you land on the hootenanny space, you then also have to pay, maybe it's not 20 coins because you have to land on the space, maybe it's like 5 or 10 coins, and that will bring everybody over. That way, there is that strategic element of, do you want to do it or not? Especially if you get like a custom die to specifically land on the hootenanny to then drag everybody over to that corner of the map. Anyway, that's enough about the milk bar. Let's go ahead and talk about the other locations on the map, starting with the shops. Now, in the original version, there was only 1 shop and it was right here, basically at the center of the map. Now there's 3. You can see one just barely over here in the corner. You can see one again in the center, not quite exactly where it used to be, but now it's like right before this junction. And then you can also see a Kamek shop over here by the train station. Overall, I think this is good. I don't see really any downside here, so let's go ahead and move on. And since I just brought up the train station, we'll bring up the fact that yes, the train stations are essentially in the exact same locations. You got one down low, you got one to the left, and you got one up top. Again, the exact same as what it was in the original version. Now there's only 1 building left, and I'm kind of thinking that this might be the Koopa Bank, although it wouldn't be the Koopa Bank in this scenario, because as you can see, it looks like there's a green Shy Guy in it instead, so I guess it would just be the bank. Now yes, this does look different than what it looked like in Mario Party Superstars, but so do the shops. And I've just seen a lot of people saying, oh man, they took away the Koopa Bank, but again, they might not have. I'm not saying that this is 100% definitely the Koopa Bank, but I'm just not sure what else it could be if it's not the Koopa Bank. Now, even if we zoom in, we can't really see exactly what's going on. I mean, if you ask me, in my opinion, what the sign above the little Shy Guy says, it looks like right here that kind of looks like a red Koopa shell, and then the thing to the right of it right here, that kind of looks like a dollar bill, so maybe that's what it possibly is. But I'm not gonna put money on that. Again, I'm really only assuming that it's a Koopa bank because of the fact that this map originally had a Koopa bank. And it even kind of resembles the old Koopa bank on this map. Now, that being said, it's clearly in a completely different location, and that's why I do wonder if maybe it is something potentially different. Because you can't even see what's directly in front of it. Like, it doesn't look like there's one of those little dots where it's like, oh, if you're passing by, you stop here and talk to the guy and something happens, blah, 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 like a shop. But then I also don't really see a green event space where it's like you have to land on it to activate something. Like that little spot behind the tree, this like the right here, that could be like the edge of a happening event space. But even if it is, that doesn't mean that it's a Koopa bank space. It could be that you have to land on this space and this guy's gonna do who knows what. Maybe you can buy something that prevents you being dragged to the hootenanny, kind of like boo repellent, but it's milk repellent. I don't know. But again, right now, just because it was in the original version, I'm kind of assuming it's a Koopa bank. All right, now I'm basically done with locations, except for the fact I do want to talk about the boo. I feel like everybody already knows this is where a boo location is, and we all think that this is where a boo location is. We know for a fact that the cave is a boo location because in the original trailer, you can see the little sign right next to it that says boo. And of course, there was a boo originally, not quite there. It was like a little bit farther down, but it was in a very similar area, and that's why everyone is kind of thinking that this is also a boo, this graveyard right here. This one also got shifted a little bit. Obviously, the shop right over here takes the place of where the boo originally was, and then the boo got pushed down a little bit, which is a change I don't like because of this specific change right here, this junction. In the original version, this path would just take you straight down. But in this new version, they've basically created a loop. And this is a very bad loop because it's just like the loop from Spaceland. Because you've got a shop right here that you can buy a key at, then move down to the boo to steal from someone, then go back up through this gate with your newly bought key, go back to the shop, buy another key, go back to the boo, and just do an infinite loop like that. And while I think that is a good strat, it's also a very annoying strat. Especially if this game is like Superstars where they're constantly giving you double, triple, and custom dice. Because then towards the end, I feel like you're basically just constantly going through this loop that's very, very small and just constantly stealing stars if you've got a lot of money. So yeah, not a big fan of that change, but I do like how they changed the center over here. Like, as much as I love this map, I was never a big fan of the way they did the center of it. I mean, honestly, it just kind of felt like this line right here, you almost never did. I mean, unless the star was up there or something, why would you go that way unless you want to do a battle minigame or a happening space when you got a shop right there? Like, you're probably gonna go to the shop and buy an item as opposed to, especially because the other way is longer. So if you're trying to get somewhere, I mean, yeah, it's only like a space or two longer, but still, you're gonna take the shorter path that's gonna take you past the shop. And then we have the same kind of issue over here at this junction where I'm like, do I go left or do I go up? And usually you'd go up. Like, again, you could go for the happening or the item space or whatever, but usually you want to avoid that because, I mean, that's going to have you possibly landing on the railroad tracks, which means you could possibly get bumped off. And again, it is the longer route. And if you're trying to get somewhere, you usually want to take the shorter route. Again, it's only shorter by like a space or two, but still, it just doesn't seem like it's the worthwhile way to go. Usually you're always going to go up. And then for this junction right here, you're always gonna go left. And I will say, that is a good thing about this other junction over here changing, because as you can see on the original version, like, there was just no reason to go in this little loop right here. Like, if you're gonna go to Boo, you're probably gonna go to Boo. Unless, of course, again, there's a star behind that gate, you're probably gonna take the path to Boo. But anyway, back to the center. So if you look, that the junction over here, where there used to be you could either go to the shop or go to the nothingness, now they've moved the shop before the junction. So now it doesn't seem like there's a very obvious, clear option of which way to go. I mean, we can't exactly see specifically what's right over here. Maybe there is something very alluring over on this path, but right now it looks like it doesn't really matter which way you go. It's probably just about where you specifically land, which I kind of like that more. And then again, they changed this. There wasn't even a junction over here originally. And now you can get off the railroad tracks to get back up into the center to avoid getting hit by the train. Then again, you're probably gonna stick to the railroad tracks because it takes you directly to Boo. And of course, if you've got the option to go to Boo or not go to Boo, you're probably gonna go to Boo. But this does feel practical because if there is a situation where the train's behind you and you know your friend's gonna try to right it the next turn and you're definitely gonna get hit if they end up going forward, it makes a lot of sense that you have this little path where you can escape to the center so you don't get hit by that train. And so as of right now, I'm gonna be optimistic and say that I do really like the changes that they've made so far. Again, I don't really like the Boo Loop, and I think the Hootenanny could be an absolute disaster depending on how it actually plays out. But there's more shops, there's some better junctions, and now we can hold up to 3 items, which is going to greatly help traveling around this massive board. But what do you guys think? How do you think the Hootenanny is gonna work? Do you think that building up north is actually a bank? Do you think this version will play better? Leave a comment down below, make sure you like the video, and until next time, I'll catch you later.